Ladies and gentlemen, as we begin our services, if we can please kindly turn off all cell phones or electronic devices, or please place them on silent. Thank you.
Ma'ayan HaChaim, wellspring of life. We come together today, sharing our sorrow, sharing our love, and to commemorate the life of Rob Weiner. We recall the blessing of his life. We thank God for all that was good and true in his life, and for the precious memories which shall endure. Eternal God, his family, his friends, his fellow congregants are bowed in grief and seek light to dispel the dark gloom which threatens to overwhelm them. O God, be gracious to those who mourn. They are in distress and sadness. Bless them with your ease and compassion. Relieve their burden of sorrow. Send them light and peace. For it is written, fear not, as I am with you. Be not dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you. I will help you. I'll sustain you with my power. And let us all say, Amen. For those who may not know me, I am Rabbi Gary Gans. I am now the Rabbi Emeritus of Congregation Beth Tikva, having shared my pulpits, my life, my profession, my friendship with Nathan Weiner, my successor. I also welcome now our Chazan, Cantor Joseph Liebowitz.
Mizmor LeDavid. Adonai ro'i lo echsar, bineot desher yahar bitzeini, al mei menuchot ינעלני. נפשי אשובת, נפשי אשובת, ינחני במעגלי צדק, למען שמו. גם כי אלך בגיא צלמוות, לא אירא רע, כי אתה עמדי, שבטך ומשענתך, שבטך ומשענתך, המה ינחמוני. טהרו לפני שולחן, שולחן נגד צוררי, נגד צוררי, תשענת ושמש ראשי ראשי, כוסי כוסי רוויה. אך טוב וחסד ירדפו כל ימי חיי, ושבתי בבית אדוני ליורך ימים.
We form today a community of consolation. We each have memories of Rob, but we as the extended family reach out to some specific people. To Audra, this September would have been their 20th anniversary. To his children, to Haley, to Aaron. You may have seen the picture, by the way, in the collage of Haley wearing her graduation gown in advance. The school, in their compassion, gave her that so that Rob could be part of the graduation process. We reach out to his parents, Steve, to Ellen, the years of memory, and all the support that they brought to Rob with the family in the year and a quarter of his fight. And to his brother Nathan, who is sitting in the front row rather than standing here. Because as we discussed and decided quite some time ago, Nathan was to be a member of the mourning family. And with Sam showing his support and part and parcel of the family, and not to be Rob's rabbi, his brother, a higher position. I am honored to have had that role of being Rob's rabbi, and a boundary and a separation between family and profession. Ellen tells a story that when Rob was born, he was born on her mother's birthday. He was metaphorically, not even literally, wrapped up with a ribbon and a bow and presented to her as a gift. His life, although too short, was a gift to all. We each have different pictures of Rob. Some of those showed up in that collage, video collage as well. But the picture that stands in my mind the most is the one that he often pasted on Facebook in several different versions. You're laughing, you know the picture I'm going to describe, right? He's smoking that great big cigar and holding a glass of scotch. And even through the beard, you can see he was smiling because that was his happy time. Been with you too, but the scotch and the cigar really just brought the best out of it. But I also see the picture of Rob with the tenacity as he fought this cancer for 15 months. And I affirm it was also okay for him to acknowledge when the fight was over. Starting this evening with the arrival of Shabbat, the Sabbath, it will be a special Shabbat known as Shabbat Zachor, the Shabbat preceding the holiday of Purim, the Shabbat of remembrance. When I spoke to the family and asked about their remembrances, I stirred up memories and their mindful pictures of Rob as well. The considerate communicator who made calls on other people to see how they were doing. The coffee drinker, the barbecuer, the game player, the DJ, the husband, the father, the son, the brother, the nephew, the cousin, and the friend. I remember Rob's pride in making the delicious dishes. They were good, some people remember them, right? It was one of the preliminary activities on the day that Nathan and Sam got married. A week later, at my request, Rob taught me how to make those knishes for my family. And that simple act of making potato knishes is how I will continue to remember him. By coincidence, yesterday was the yurtzeit of Moshe Rabbeinu, the anniversary of the death of the great Moses of the Torah. None of us can compare to the glory of Moses, the leadership, his ability to speak to and with God, and none of us can compare to his heroic lifespan of 120 years. But like Moses, Rob also did not get to see the promised land. He was deprived of the satisfaction of his hard work. Rob didn't get to see his children settled in life with careers and settle with their own families. Rob missed out on the many future simchas and life cycle events he would have relished with his family. He didn't get to enjoy a leisurely retirement with Audra. Each of us is tinged with sadness for the potential that was cut short. The metaphor that works for me is to hold dear to Rob's identity as a DJ. He loved music. I think of his potential sorrow of not finishing his own long playing album of the cherished music of his life. That's our task, to remember and enable his loved ones to cling to the harmony of his existence. We will play the music of his life and hold him in our hearts, our minds, and our souls. I'm going to share with you a text that I've shared from this pulpit much too often, from members of our congregation and indeed even from members of my own family. This is a text written by Ben Sirach thousands of years ago. He understood realities of life, death, the complexities of that existence and its completion, and even an acknowledgement of what happens when life ends before what seems to be the natural plan. Ben Sirach understood life. And I read for you in translation his words as they echo for me through the eons. And he wrote, "We are all destined to die. We share with all who ever lived, with all who ever will be. Cry for the dead. Hide not your grief. Do not restrain your mourning. But remember that continuing sorrow is worse than death. When the dead are at rest, let their memory be a source of peace, and be consoled when the soul departs. Death is better than a life of pain, and eternal rest is better than lingering illness. As a drop of water in the sea, as a grain of sand on the shore, are our few days in eternity. The good things in life last for a short time, but a good name, a good reputation, endures forever." We're blessed with a couple of individuals who will share some of Rob's good name, and I'm honored first to call on Tema Steele.
Rob was a sweet surprise in my life. Back in January 2021, Rob called me when he heard I was having difficulty booking an appointment for the COVID vaccine and offered to help. I was not able to book that until February, but I was surprised that with everything he was going through, that he reached out to help me. That was the beginning of our relationship. Outwardly, we had absolutely nothing in common, but our souls were to connect on a deep level in the months that followed. We sent text messages to each other with cute emojis every single day, first thing in the morning and all throughout the day. We were there for each other through all the difficult procedures and medical issues that Rob valiantly faced. We both decided that we wanted to define our relationship and decided that I would be his big sister and he would be my little brother. Rob always told me that family was everything to him. All he wanted during the trying times he faced was to be at home with his family, and of course wanted to be able to drive his car again. In his final days, John and I visited with him every morning at Ellen and Steve's home. I held his hand and stroked his head. I was granted the honor to be there when Rob transitioned on Wednesday morning. When he took his last breath, there was no pain, only peace and calm. We all take comfort in the fact that Rob lived and he mattered. His spirit will live on in the hearts of his family and friends.
For everything there is a season, a time for every experience under heaven, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to uproot what is planted, a time to tear down and a time to build up, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to grieve and a time to dance, a time to throw stones and a time to gather stones, a time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing, a time to seek and a time to lose, a time to keep and a time to discard, a time to tear and a time to sow, a time to keep silence and a time to speak. I'm honored now to continue our speaking, his cousin Russ Berman.
This is definitely a lot more difficult than giving a best man speech at a wedding. So, for those of you who I have not had the pleasure of meeting before, as the rabbi said, my name is Russ Berman, and I've known Rob since I was 8 months old. And sorry, I just wanted to also, before I said, my deepest condolences to the immediate family. So, Rob was my first friend and my best friend since childhood. We did everything together, and we went to Israel together, school together, USY together. We DJ'd together, and if you believe it, the name of the DJ company was R&R. We spent Jewish holidays together. We toured Philadelphia together. We visited each other at college. The list goes on. Everyone knew us as Rob and Russ, us and Rob. And for many years, it wasn't one or the other. It was both. Rob and I made it a point to stay in touch when we both went off to college. I was happy to have Rob as the best man at the wedding. And when Rob and I weren't together, we would talk on the phone. And sometimes the conversations were about nothing. But it was just nice to hear his voice. Rob loved his phone. Rob loved his family and his friends. He loved cooking, and he loved teaching Aaron how to become the grill master. He loved having coffee with you, Haley. Loved spending time with you, Audra. And he also had a very special bond with his dog, Scooter. When I first met Scooter, I was very scared of Scooter. But fortunately, when Rob told Scooter that I was okay, Scooter warmed right up to me. When Rob got sick, we made it a point to talk on the phone multiple times a day. We had our virtual cigar hangings, which sometimes included a nice scotch, which Rob also liked. This went on until Rob just couldn't do it anymore. I was also part of Rob's neighborly fire pit hangs, and Rob loved his neighbors, and his neighbors loved Rob, and they became dear friends. I had some of my funniest laughs hanging out at some of those fire pits. I also love to go to hang out with Rob at Heritage Cigar. They all knew him there. And even when Rob was as sick as he was still making friends. I'm not going to lie, he did love playing the I Have Brain Cancer card. While I'm going to miss Rob very much, I'm truly blessed that we had almost 48 years together. Rob, thank you for being such an important part of my life. I would also be remiss if I didn't acknowledge the special bond you and my 16-year-old son, Brady, had. I will always cherish our memories. I will never stop thinking about you. You fought such a long and hard fight. You are now comfortable and at peace. And Rob, until we meet again, enjoy your cigar and scotch. And whatever you do, don't forget your cell phone. Thank you.
Yesterday at Minyan was the first time in 15 months that I've not recited Rob's name in the Mishberach prayer for healing. More than that prayer asks for repair. It asks for a sense of comfort. It asks for a sense of acceptance of what is the final decree. I hope that prayer has made some difference in his life and in his passing. And in a moment, the cantor is going to chant the El Malei Rachamim, God, the compassionate one, that will be using his Hebrew name officially. Listen for his name. You will hear that he was Reuven, Ben, the son of Zalman and Yocheved. That is his lasting and eternal name that will hold us dear to all of his past and to his future. I ask those who are comfortable to kindly please stand now for the El Malei.
El Malei Rachamim Shochen Bamromim Hamtzei Menucha Nechona Tachat Kanfei HaShechina B'mahalot Kedoshim B'mahalot Kedoshim B'mahalot קדושים וטהורים, כזוהר, הרקיע מזהירים, את נשמת ראובן בן זלמן ויוכבד, שהלך לעולמו, בעבור שאנו מזכירים את נשמתו בגן עדן תהא מנוחתו. לכן בעל הרחמים יסתירהו בסתר כנפיו לעולמים, ויצרור בצרור החיים את נשמתו. אדוני הוא נחלתו וינוח בשלום על משכבו. ונאמר
O God, exalted and full of compassion, grant perfect peace in your sheltering presence among the holy and pure. The soul of Rob Weiner, Ruvain, son of Zalman Leofevet, who has gone to his eternal home. Master of mercy, we beseech you, remember all the worthy and righteous deeds that he performed in the land of the living. May his soul be bound up in the bond of life. The Lord is his portion. May he rest in the tranquility of shalom, of peace. And let us say, Amen. Please be seated. The interment will take place at the Bet Tikva section at Crescent Memorial Park in Pensacola. Shiva will be Saturday and Sunday evenings in person at CBT, and Zooming Monday and Tuesday evenings. So a bit of a hybrid. Any potential donations are certainly welcome in his memory, either to Congregation Beth Tikva or to the Pete Say Cancer Rescue Foundation.
Would the pallbearers please step to the center aisle? We can rise once more, please. Shomrim
ודירי כל חפציבה. ירבו עצפותם אשר מהרו, בלסיך נזקיהם מדם, ובעל